Hi, Julie. How are you today?
Hi, Kevin. I'm great. How are you?
Very good. So glad that you're here. I wanted to introduce
Ew.
everybody. Yeah. So tell us about you. Tell us what you do.
Okay.
How's
Well,
that?
I am. Tell us what I do. Well, first of all, this summit that's coming up that you're doing, I am super, super excited about. And there's not a whole lot of Canadians on the docket. So I
No,
feel
you're
super, super
you're special.
grateful and
Yeah,
flattered. Yes, there's a
yeah.
few special Canadians. That's lovely.
That's right.
So I am many things, but I am a clinical hypnotherapist and trainer. I'm a coach and I'm a nutritionist. And I work specifically in the area of relationships.
Love it. And tell me what your big the reason why you're so passionate about this. Okay, we've talked about it, but we need to share it with
Yes.
everybody else.
Well, what I tell people, because I have a huge vision slash mission, and it is to help change the way that we currently look at mental and emotional wellness in our societies. That is my big overall. I want people to get support um, before it's a crisis.
Mhm,
So preventative medicine for your mental and emotional state.
mhm,
That's my overall my goal.
mhm. So what brought you to this? Like why are you so passionate about this? This is a great mission and I love it.
Thank you. You know what? Honestly, since I was a very, very little girl, and you can ask my mom, I started out as a hairstylist when I was very young. My first business at the age of 17 that I opened was cosmetology. So I did people's hair. And the reason was from like the age of 5, I just told my mom, I'm going to do people's hair. And then I tortured her uh, because I wanted people to feel better.
Mhm,
And when I looked pretty, I felt better.
mhm,
So when she would give me ringlets in my hair and stuff, I would feel better.
mhm,
So I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I want people to feel better. And then as I started doing hair, I did it a little bit differently. And instead of being in the salon behind a chair, I would go to people's homes and I'd work with these families. And it would be mom and dad and the kids. And I'd start mom's hair, and then the kids would come in and I'd do their hair. And when the kids were ready, the dad would take them off to soccer or whatever the case may be. And after one or two times of meeting each of these families, they started to forget I was there.
mhm,
So they started to just be their normal selves. And the family dynamics were fascinating to me. Everything from anger to pure love. Like it was like they're from the best to the worst.
mhm.
And it was just like all unfolding in front of me. And I'm like, wow, people are fascinating. So I started taking courses, and I took courses on nutrition because that was a personal interest of mine. And again, it just led me into more into counseling, into coaching, into hypnotherapy, all of these things. Cause I'm like, I just want people to feel better. And holy crap, people do not feel good and they're not being nice to each other, uh, generally,
Mhm,
speaking in general terms, of course. So my goal was to help people be honest with each other and themselves. Because,
mhm,
just for example, like mom and dad would leave the room and I was working with a child, 12-year-old. He's like, I hate them. Like, you don't hate them. I do. And this is why. And I'm like, okay, well, let's look at this. So I was not in a position to be doing this, but I was actually helping these families right then and there.
mhm.
I'm like, I got to be able to do this in a much broader spectrum. So that's what I'm doing now. And I love the parent child relationship. I love working in that area. Romantic relationships. I work with couples. Um, yeah, like I'm so passionate about helping people have better relationships at work, at rest, and at play.
I love it.
Because without good relationships, nothing else matters.
Yep. And we were talking before we got on here, kind of one of your signature ways that you love to work is that like no BS. Julie's no BS, and she likes to call it as it is. And I appreciate that because I think there's a lot of people that walk around and I see it in business as well, like where it's just like we want to show that we're all put together and that everything's
Mhm.
okay and that my business is going great and my family life is going great and everything's really great. And that's not always the case. And I think a lot of times it actually slows our production and our process and our success down.
Well, it's hard to mentally navigate faking it every day.
Mm,
So like we were saying, there's this like ridiculous theory that you can just think positive and you'll be positive. I like to look at optimism versus being positive, because you can absolutely be optimistic, but as we were saying before we got on here, the mind has something called a negativity bias. So you can't fool me that your mind is only ever positive, because
mm,
the human mind was actually built to look for the negative in things.
mm,
That's what its job is. It's how it keeps us safe. We don't have to let it run roughshod on our theories and thoughts,
right.
but it's there.
Yep.
So own it.
Well, but that's what I loved about that, because we were talking about that, because it's like, I think sometimes when we don't accept and we don't actually just say like, I'm having a crappy day, or this situation really sucks. And, we keep ourselves in situations that are unhealthy, and
Mm,
both in our mental health, right? Like with work-life balance and overwhelm and anxiety and stress, right? It's like we're not really owning the fact that we need to fix these issues, right? And to be able to fix these issues, we have to say, I've had enough, right?
thank you for bringing up that topic, especially let's go to the work life. So that just brought up a story in my mind, and I was working with a client, and he was telling me how he couldn't say this to his boss or to his coworkers. He couldn't, because they'd be mad. And I'm like, okay, well, what does mad mean? And I just kind of dug a little bit deeper, and I said, is that adult you talking, or is that child you who's afraid you're going to have to eat lunch alone?
Mhm.
Like, I get it, and I'm not being facetious, and I'm not cold-hearted. I understand that there's a lot of pain that people bring with them from their
Mhm.
childhood, complete and utter terror
Mhm.
at being an outcast.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen, or it doesn't have to, as an adult, but as a child, it happens. It's real. It's
Yep.
not fun.
Yep.
And but that is not your story anymore.
Right.
But we run ourselves off of those stories, and it can be so detrimental to us getting where we need to go.
Yep. And that's a big passion of yours, is really understanding that most, if not all, people have some sort of childhood trauma that they bring forward in their life. That's very passionate for you.
For sure, because people will always say, I think there might have been trauma in my childhood. Like, I have some triggers, and I'm like, childhood is traumatic. Everything as a child is
Yeah.
brand new.
Yeah.
You cannot get through childhood without trauma, and it doesn't have to be huge trauma. It doesn't have to be something really, really scary. But remember how scared you were the first time you saw a scary movie. Remember how scared you were the first time somebody yelled at you, and you may
Yep.
or may not remember that because it probably happened a really long time ago.
Yep.
But trust me, every first thing that
Yep.
you experienced was terrifying.
Yep.
So that's trauma.
Yep. I'm glad you say that, because the more I work with professionals, and the more I work with, confidence and sales, especially in sales, because there's a lot of fears around selling. That really almost always comes back down to, a parent, to an abusive
Mhm.
relationship, to all these things. And it's like, we need to identify these things when they come up, especially if we're entrepreneurs, or especially if we want to go out and have a healthy relationship, right? Because we need to see how this stuff shows up in our lives. So it's very important work that you're doing. It's really exciting.
Thank you. The whole sales role thing, often that's a trust
Yeah.
issue. And the fact is that the only trust issue that exists is that we don't trust ourselves.
Yeah.
Whether it's you're always putting it out there that that person has to earn my trust. And the
Mm,
fact is that nobody has to earn your trust other than you.
right.
You have to understand that trust is an inside job. But as we were talking about, Kevin and I had a little bit of a conversation before, and we were talking about things like how we lose trust in ourselves. And
Mhm.
some of you know why you don't trust yourselves. You've made a decision that wasn't so ideal, and you went, "Oh, I should not make decisions for me." I always jokingly, I'm like, "I don't know who put me in charge of me. It was not the wisest idea some days." I'm just saying. Still happens. But what we were talking about is literally from the moment that you were born till today, you are being told that you're wrong. You're wrong about something.
Yeah,
You're bad. You're wrong. You're, wrong, bad.
that's right.
That's not good.
Yep,
Stop doing that.
that's right.
it's to keep us safe. You know, parents do this to keep us safe, but the fact is it conditions us to believe that we can't be trusted.
That's right.
We're not making good decisions.
Yep.
So we need to know that that's not your true story.
Yep.
Never was, but it's certainly not your true story anymore.
Yep.
So it just makes sense that people don't trust themselves.
Yep. Yeah. And then you put that on top of, like, you know, the way our culture identifies with education and hierarchy and everything else that goes along with
Yes.
that, which is a much deeper conversation. But it's like, I want to show up and be
Don't get me started on that
excited.
one.
I know, exactly. That's why I was like, okay. But, you know, I want to show up excited. And it's just like, I want to finally be at that place where I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And, you know, this is definitely for all those entrepreneurs and career professionals out there, that it's like, we have to make a decision that we're going to do it, and we're going to do it really well. And we have to be able to get to that point and say, that's it, I'm doing it. I have something very special. And yet people are still successful in life, but yet there's always this undertone of failure, and I'm not going to be good enough. And what if I don't make it? And how can I be really good at what I do while feeling good and having a healthy and holistic life? You know, it's
Right.
yeah.
And as we mentioned, it's not likely that you're never going to experience those messagings that come from inside, but it's ideal if you experience them much less. And if you also recognize when you're experiencing them, have the awareness of going, oh, thank you, mind, for that irrelevant information.
Right.
Now I can move forward with
Yep.
my day.
That's right.
We we have to make these decisions and understand that, oh, that's not real. That's somebody else's messaging.
Yep.
I cannot tell you how many times I've had people say, oh, I had one of my clients say, well, I know my place.
Mm.
She's like, I can't even tell you what your face looked like when I said that. I did not hide it well. I'm like, "Blah." You know your place? Who the hell's messaging is that? Like, that is not coming from you. That is a story you've been told. And
Right.
she's like, oh.
It's-
but I was like, what?
It is. It's really powerful. Like, just having that opportunity to reflect back for people and to really get them to be real. And, you know, this is what we were talking about, you know, before we jumped on this call, that it's like, you know,
Right.
unfortunately we live in this society where people aren't really getting that chance to communicate honestly, without hold back, without, you know, it's just like, we always have to be put together. We always have to feel like, you know, we don't want to make anybody mad, or we don't want to look
Right.
bad, or yeah. And so I want to go into, because I love what we're talking about here, and I want to talk about what you're going to be sharing with everybody at the summit, because this is going to be a really exciting topic. So I'd love for you to just give them a little bit of an idea of what you're going to talk about and what they're going to learn from you.
All right. Well, it's called letting go of who we are not. And I often say, when I'm speaking to clients, because they're like, well, I know I need to change. And the fact is that we can look at change in two different ways. But what I like to say is it's really not about changing who you are. It's about letting go of who you are not. Now, we might need to change a behavior. We might need to evaluate things, but behaviors are not who you are. And we're going to drill back to who you are, who you were meant to be before all this messaging got dumped on you. And again, it's not about, there's no sense of blame in what I'm talking about. It's all about just awareness and knowing how the mind develops, knowing what may or may not have caused some of the things that you believe about yourself, and not so that you can go, I need to talk to that person. This is completely so that you can just take a step forward. There's a book. It's a little book. It's only like, it's an audio book. I'm sure it's in book form as well, but in the audio book, it's only an hour long, and it's called U Squared. And I love this because it so simplifies how we need to move forward. And I always tell people, you can't sneak up on being successful. You actually have to just choose to be successful.
Yep.
And part of that is choosing to not buy into your own mindset anymore, choosing to not continue with the behaviors that you know are sabotaging you. So this is all about letting go of this stuff, the numbing tools that you've brought forward into your life so you don't have to look at the pain that you're in. It's all about letting go of those.
It's going to be exciting. And this, I love this topic, because especially for entrepreneurs, because it's scary and it's lonely sometimes. And, you know, it's kind of like we don't have a lot of people around us. And I think this really was just talking to somebody today about, she was telling me that she always worked for organizations. And so it was easy. She just showed up and did her work. And
Mhm.
then now she's out here on her own, and it's completely different, right? Like when you're an entrepreneur and you're out here, you have to do the whole thing. And now all those messages start to come up, right? What if,
Right.
right? And so this is going to be and you're going to kind of make it experiential, and you're going
Yes.
to, yeah.
Yeah, it will be experiential, for sure. Again, my background is in hypnosis as well, but I choose to use more of like a visualization kind of
Mhm,
stance.
mhm.
So it's not about going deep. You're not going to fall out of your chairs or anything like that.
You're going to make us
So,
do funny things, like you're going to make us, talk funny or,
well,
wow.
I can't really control how you talk, but actually, so
Actually, I
I
can.
I don't do stage hypnosis,
Oh,
and that's where that comes into play. However, it's possible. So just
yeah. So
just
you better be vigilant.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about visualizations. It's just about seeing things. It's about putting people into a relaxed enough state so they stop trying to do it right
Yeah.
and they just listen to their inner messaging.
That's
They're
interesting. That's kind of like the whole thing, like, because the commercialization of hypnosis and, like, all the trickery around it,
mm,
where hypnosis is just more of just an experience to get into your body, to slow down your mind a little bit. And it's more of a somatic experience. And, I think some people are like, oh, hypnosis, like, I don't understand that. It's like, it's a great tool. It's a tool that can really help you
mhm.
to, it's a self-help tool that really helps people.
And every one of us is in states of hypnosis
Yep.
throughout our day.
Right.
Every one of us.
Yep.
And it's, driving is a huge state of
Mm,
hypnosis. You're like, I don't even know
wow.
how I got here.
Yeah, totally.
I'm here because all it is your conscious mind is not there anymore, and your subconscious mind is the one running the show because your subconscious mind can do all kinds of things at the same time, whereas your conscious mind can do one. It's not a genius.
Yep.
Subconscious mind, brilliant library of
Mhm.
amazing things. Hypnosis itself is just, as you said, slowing down the mind, taking us from beta, which is where we usually live, through alpha and down into theta is true hypnosis. But alpha is a great tool as well. That's where we can learn and grow. A lot of children spend a lot of time in alpha. You know, you think they're just disobeying you and not listening, but they don't even hear you.
Mhm.
They're in alpha brainwave. They're like in their heads, which is beautiful.
Mhm.
So empathy for children. They're not just ignoring you. They're literally not able to hear you.
Yeah,
So,
I've learned a lot. I've actually had to learn a lot about, the way I interact with my small children, and how,
right.
because I can be pretty loud and, abrupt, and really had to learn. I really had to learn and pay attention to that. And I see how that shows up in adults too, because
Mm.
and so it's just an interesting, very interesting thing. But, again, another topic.
Yeah,
But
we
I'm
could talk
really,
about
I know
many things,
we,
and we will. We will
that's right. That's
because
it.
Kevin has promised to come on my podcast. So we're
Yeah.
gonna dig into Kevin.
Man month. It's man month.
Man month, March.
Man month, March. So that's all right. We're going
It's
to
love
talk.
month this month. My
Yep.
podcast is all about love this month.
Yep.
My messaging is all about love. It generally is,
Mhm.
but it's like really hardcore about love
Yep.
because of Valentine's Day. And then
Because
next
it's
month is man month.
all right. I like it. Well, that's exciting. Well, I'm so glad I've got to share you with the group, and for them to get a little to know about you a little bit and what you're going to be sharing with us. Really excited that you're on our summit. This is going to be really fun. For those that don't know yet, February 10th to the 16th, it's a 5-day event. It's absolutely 100% free. There's going to be 15 different speakers teaching you actionable things about your business, about your life, about your mindset. You're going to have all kinds of tools, and it's really going to be a great opportunity for you to connect with other new people
Mhm.
and really just learn. So we
I'm
hope you'll
so
come.
excited.
Yeah, it's going to be really great. So there you go. I'll drop the links again below. And Julie, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure having you here today.
Thank you, Kevin. I look
Okay.
forward to chatting with you again soon.
Yep, can't wait. Okay, bye guys.
Bye.